Live? No? Welcome back to Proof of Talk, right here in Paris. My name's Gareth Jenkinson. I'm the head of multimedia here at Cointelegraph, and we are live streaming from the event. It's been a fantastic day so far. We've heard from the likes of Barry Silbert and a number of high-profile individuals from the cryptocurrency space, and really just enjoying this venue. I'm joined by a man I know quite well, Sebastien Borget from the Sandbox. A lot of our viewers out there will know Sebastien, and we're going to be talking about Web3 games because it's been a topic I haven't been covering a lot in the last year or two. I mean, my job has changed a little bit, so I'm doing a little less writing these days. But it does feel like a lot of attention moved away from Web3 gaming. As someone who's built one of the most popular Web3 games out there, what's your general take on Web3 games at the moment? Has it been in a lull? How do you get out of this?
Well, it's always good to see you here, Gareth. And well, let me put it straight. Like, Web3 gaming is kicking and alive, and like it's been more alive than you ever saw before. The only thing, though, is like it's also more fragmented than it was a few years back, when like there was only one main blockchain, essentially Ethereum, and all the projects were on Ethereum. So nowadays, like most of the Web3 games, like successful one, let's talk about like Off the Grid, Pixels, or like the new Maple Story, they are on different chains. Like on one side, you have like the whole Telegram ton ecosystem, which bolster a lot of games and gamers. Yeah. You have on Avalanche, you have Ronin, you still have Ethereum and Polygon, but they take like a smaller portion of the attention. And so you have all those pools of silos of gamers and successful games, but they are not interconnected. There is no like liquidity across those. The token don't easily flow across those, and so you have actually an impression that Web3 gaming is smaller, but I think like overall there's probably 300 million wallets that are connected across all those different games. Yep. At Sandbox, we're also noticing with the different season we've launched, like more engagement, more spent, more time by user into our metaverse season and experiences. Yep. So we get good signals that actually games are here and growing. Like the right games with the right fun and engagement formula can actually kick off into large success at speed we've never seen before. Okay. But if it's hard to get the big picture if you're just in one of those ecosystems or you don't really oversee it from the top. Yeah.
For those of you listening, please do drop your questions for Sebastien. If you have some burning questions about the Sandbox, some burning questions about Web3 gaming, where the trends are going, what chain you should be building on, what's good, what's bad, he's the man who knows. So please drop the questions, and as this conversation goes on, I'll pose some of these questions to Sebastien. My next question to you is, how much is developing infrastructure playing a role in Web3 games? I know the guys from Olympics, I've spoken to them quite a lot. Pudgy Penguins are now building on their infrastructure, and it's making it a lot more accessible for people that are not blockchain native to build games and then plug in the blockchain infrastructure and be able to tokenize that in certain ways. So you and I can play a Web3 game, let's say Wordle, on Telegram, and I challenge you and I put down 2 USDT, and if you can solve the Wordle faster than me, you get the money. I think that's a fantastic use case for, you know, sort of a peer-to-peer, like more engaging, more socially interactive approach to gaming, and now the infrastructure is there. Have you seen a large change in the last year? We can talk about Ton and what happened there a little bit as we go along, but how do you feel about the infrastructure at the moment?
Well, I do absolutely believe that like game developers are usually choosing an ecosystem or a chain for like the audience that it has, like the user, and also like the whole developer toolkits that's available. Like, you absolutely do not want, as a game developer, to reinvent the wheel every time. You do not want to build your own marketplace. You don't want to build your own wallet or account abstraction. You don't want to build your like peer-to-peer matchmaking system. And so once now like you have like more developed solutions with wallets like Sequence or even MetaMask that improve largely their UX, once we have now system where like users can actually put their user-generated content on the marketplace available and sell across, and like avatar system that and marketplace that can be sold across many games with player zero protocol, or wagering system where you can challenge one of your friends for a very small bet and like whoever win into the skill-based game.
Yeah.
That's Olympics. I think it's definitely valuable, so then like game developers can actually focus on the one thing they should be the best at, which is like making fun games.
Yeah.
And all the rest, the tool sets, like the tech, the infrastructure, should actually be like other teams which are better at this that provide them. Very few are the team that will be good at focusing on both. And if as a game company, as a startup, you have to prioritize on your go-to-market, let's start with the game rather than like the tech.
I remember this time last year at Proof of Talk, Hamster Combat had just come out, and it was like, I think it was a month into the launch, they already had like 100 million players on the tapping, the tapping game. It really fizzled out after the token generation event. I think a lot of interest just waned, but the way that they approached doing it made me pretty excited about like Web3 games again, and like blockchain-based games, and it didn't have a native token then. When it launched the token, I think that they failed in many aspects to do something that would keep people playing. Sandbox has been around for a long time. How do you keep people playing? How do you bring the monetization element into what you're doing? And like, how difficult is it to solve that problem? Because I still think that no Web3 game has completely figured it out.
Well, nobody in Web3 gaming has actually figured out like the successful recipe that anyone else can copycat. Like we're such into an early stage of experimentation and sometimes failure, but there is a learning curve, and like definitely we're seeing progress. Like what Hamster Combat has demonstrated is like basically a good network here, like the Telegram network, can essentially allow to bootstrap like the user acquisition, to grow the community, and to grow games to like level of audiences we've never seen before. Hamster Combat is so simple in the gameplay, so accessible thanks to Telegram network and the wallet. It was fantastic. Now, tokens are great to provide like value toward the community, but game developers also have to focus on like something I would like to push as an industry metric, which is called like the return on reward spent. For every single token that's being distributed to a user in form of claim, reward, or airdrop, how much of that token is going to go back into the game economy? And to make it come back into the game economy, you actually have to build great features, fun gameplay that people want to spend time to keep enjoying. That's what we've been doing at Sandbox. So typically you were asking me like, how do we keep Sandbox entertaining? Like we launch once a year, but now we accelerate to 3 times a year, a new season that lasts a few weeks, and people enter by like just creating an avatar. Everything is for free. They progress quests as they complete, and they earn points as they complete different quests into the various games and experience with top brands partner like Jurassic World, Bruce Lee, British Museum, and others. And then they can claim their reward. And we've been able to increase by 4x monetization and prove that we can reach a point where like we almost earn more sands, or just as break-even sand, than the amount of reward that we distribute through NFTs that have real utility, battle pass, avatars, and equipment that actually improve your skills through gameplay. And I think it should be just the natural part that every game developer think about. Like there's one side, like the trading and other like competing mechanism, which we could call like the meta gameplay, and then the real core gameplay as well that people want to enjoy through.
I've got 2 questions coming through from the live stream. The first one, why haven't Web3 games had a hit like Fortnite and Minecraft yet? And I think that's a pretty good question, right? Like break out big Web2 games. I think there's a very simple answer, but at the same time, it does make you wonder, like, why isn't there a Web3 game that everyone is just playing and they can actually earn some money from playing it?
Well, there's a few reasons, but like there's some titles like Off the Grid on Avalanche with like something like 15 million wallets and before the mainnet, which are on the verge of like showing like actual quality gameplay, fun can actually break through. Why it doesn't yet is like because most of the team, like they are a new game developer, they haven't come back from a traditional gaming background, and the way they've been approaching it was maybe a little bit too much skewed toward like blockchain as a feature and the core functionality. They didn't think about like the complexity of like user education toward like how all the effort it takes to like build and to bring an account with a wallet, credit, fill it with like the gas token and so on. And all of that, when you compare to platform like the App Store, Google Play Store, Switch, or Epic Store, all of that difficulty is actually removed because the platform already have like the user data on them. So for them, it's like 3 clicks away from the download toward the game. We're getting a much better UX. We're getting better gameplay. We're understanding better the tokenomics and gameplay mechanics. So I'm confident that there will be a moment like a Fortnite or Roblox on-chain will appear. I don't know if we will still call it pure Web3 gaming. It's an abbreviation of like Web2, 2.5, 3. But we are not that far from that moment.
I've got another good question from the live stream here. What percentage of Sandbox users actually come to play and not just buy land? I think it's a pretty good question.
Well, it's a great question. Actually, the fact is like most of like landowners are just like holders and believe in the vision of the platform, but not creators or players. I think roughly 30% of our landowners, 27,000 of them, are just playing or creating, but all the rest, they are sitting on their land. So actually, I will reverse the question, like how do we keep engaging and attracting the other 70%? On the good side, I think like the success of Sandbox is like we have different audiences. Some are like just players enjoying the season, starting to spend more than they actually earn, back to that return on reward spend. We have creators who are like the most, of course, creative, engaged, passionate audience who are ready to buy land, who purchase asset and to build and enjoy participating in our Builder Challenge and Game Jam. And we have that whole subset of like landowners, avatar holders, 57,000 of them, and sand holders, more than 370,000 on decentralized exchange and maybe more on centralized exchange. That we need to keep building a platform that deliver value to every single of those audiences. And that's something like based on the launch we're planning this year, we hope to gather.
Let's talk about the future of the Sandbox and maybe some of the other games out there that you really like. I don't know how much time you spend looking at what all the other Web3 builders are doing, but is there anything that really excites you? And what have you guys got on the roadmap for the next year that's going to keep the Sandbox kicking?
Of course, like it's very important to stay aware of what's happening in the industry and keep benchmarking to understand what works, what doesn't. Like you were mentioning Telegram games, Olympic, Hamster Combat, and a few other. Of course, we're looking at that. Off the Grid from Avalanche, Pixels is a great game, and recently Maple Story from Nexon is a great title to look into as well. That's inspiring for the future of gaming. What we are working on is like how do we expand Sandbox to become and really be perceived by everyone, not just as like the current virtual world with our no-code game maker that it is, but to become a whole ecosystem with different apps and games that people can enter, play for free, no wallet required. But if they do have an account on Sandbox, they can connect and use their sand, use their land, use their avatar on them. More interoperability, more creative possibility with AI. So vibe coding and will be the next phase of like the no-code movement. It will produce exciting experiments of games for players and for creators, and something that empower every creator to monetize even more through on-chain dynamics. Something we're working on and hope to announce big news soon.
This is a good question from Nicholas Perrier. You call the Sandbox a decentralized metaverse, but it's run by a company. Isn't that just Web 2 with extra steps? I think it's a very poignant question.
So it's a great question, and I think we are aligned with the plan we put in the white paper. Like over 5 years, we described that we will go into progressive decentralization, starting with a company that's running and operating, building the core product, bringing the brand, and so on. And then last year, it was exactly 1 year ago, we introduced the DAO. We celebrated that 1 year anniversary. To date, we have 28 SIP, Sandbox Improvement Proposal, that's been voted by the community of both sandholders and landowners to support various initiatives from like education and academies, sponsorship of events, and launching and building new tools so you can create on Sandbox without our own tool made by our own company. So for me, it's a great example of like how like the community is starting to take a stronger involvement and power into the decision making that will lead toward that full decentralization. And I'm really favorable to that one day Sandbox might become fully open source, and like basically the future development is built on the contribution from like people outside of the company, while we focus on core aspects like Sand token and the brands and the lands.
I think you answered that really well. My final question to you, I mean, a lot has changed in America and the United States. I don't know if the Sandbox has ever had an office there. Do you feel like it's a lot a lot safer place to play now that the SEC has dropped lawsuits against OpenSea and all of these other companies that are involved in NFTs and metaverses, and having a lot more positive regulatory environment? Do you think it bodes well for the future of metaverse and sort of NFTs?
Absolutely. Sandbox does have offices in Los Angeles. I'm really excited, like the change into like the regulation landscape in the US is actually allowing much more like engagement for us, like brands. Like typically it's been the bread and butter of Sandbox. Sandbox is a home of brands in Web3. Most of our brands, specifically entertainment, are in the US. Like now that brands can launch again their token, can deal with NFTs, can do activation in Web3, and there is a lot of clarity around that. It's going to be a catalyst for adoption. We're also participating to a discussion group such as a Digital Chamber or blockchain group as well at Washington, like Capitol Hill. So to shape the future of like regulation around NFTs, what is and what is not possible for blockchain gaming. So we're glad to be invited part of those discussions again, and hopefully shape a future that promote adoption indeed.
Sebastien, thanks so much for your time. Once again, thank you so much for watching the live stream. If you have more questions, you can find Sebastien online on X. You can't miss his username and handle. He's got way more followers than I do, so go give him a follow. Drop him some questions. He's pretty active on social media as well. And of course, you can continue to watch Proof of Talk live on Cointelegraph's channels right here on X and on YouTube. We will be back live again tomorrow with a full lineup of interviews with a number of different people. I'm really excited for a Bitcoin-focused conversation tomorrow morning, and a host of other big names from the industry. You can catch up all the details. If you missed anything here from Proof of Talk, check out Cointelegraph's social media channels. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.